Till you hear me so loud and clearly, this is the last time you'll ever hear from me.
Hi there guys, welcome to another edition of Jonesy's vlog. So, the match on Saturday against Bristol City. 1-0 win, which, you know, the 3 points, that is the most important thing. I never really go away from that fact. But it really wasn't great, and as many people will have seen on my Twitter feed on Saturday, I wasn't really very happy, as quite a lot of Leeds fans weren't. And it's quite simple really. It was just such an awful performance. I mean, it really was quite dreadful at times. I mean, afterwards Sean O'Driscoll, the Bristol City manager, said no one could have complained if Bristol came away with a draw. To be honest, I wouldn't have complained if they'd have gone away with the win. I mean, for me, the main factor in that game was if Bristol City would have had someone in their team who could finish, I firmly believe they'd probably have been 2-0 up by the time we got our goal. So, you know, they could quite easily have won that game if they'd have had their shooting boots on that day. And I mean, we're lucky that apart from, you know, that they were quite poor, Bristol City, they showed some decent play in midfield and sort of got into attacking positions, but they really had nothing in the final third and never really looked like threatening, apart from a couple of times in the second half. But I mean, if we'd have come up that day against a Leicester or a Cardiff or a Watford, I mean, we would have been absolutely slaughtered. I mean, the game, for those who didn't see it, it started off the first 10-15 minutes. We weren't actually that bad, you know. We seemed to have stopped the hoofball. We were playing the ball around quite well. We seemed to be getting in decent attacking positions. Ross Barkley was really sort of running things from midfield. And then after 15 minutes we just decided to then sit back and start doing the hoofball again. And Bristol City were the most sort of attacking team. I would probably say they shaded the first half really. And I mean, there were boos at half time, and it was, I mean, I'd never boo really, especially when we're at, you know, at 0-0 like that. If we were getting slaughtered 5-0 or something, then maybe yes. But you can't really disagree with the fans that were booing. I mean, it really wasn't good enough. Into the second half, again, started quite poorly really, and the only time we really showed any instinct really was after we'd scored the goal, which was a very well worked goal. You know, Ross Barkley with a fantastic pinpoint cross, decent header from Ross McCormack, and really glad to see him get a goal after quite a dry run really. But yes, it wasn't really until after that we started playing a bit more football and getting the ball back on the ground. But even then, we never really looked sort of like scoring again really. And it's just that thing of, yes, you know, people coming out saying don't stop being so negative, stop complaining, you know, we got the 3 points out, that's all that matters. But the people that are saying that, I mean, Neil Warnock pretty much came out and said that, but people aren't looking at the bigger picture. We're not going to be playing Bristol City every week. Like I said, if we'd have come up against any other team on Saturday, we would have lost that match. And you know, Bristol City just got a new manager, they're going to be kind of unsettled, the bottom of the league, not got a brilliant record away from home. You know, we should have been winning that game 3-4-0 really. But even if, you know, if we'd have won 1-0 and deserved the win and played some decent football, then I still couldn't have complained. But you know, after coming out of the Birmingham game where we did show some decent football, I was expecting, you know, this Bristol City match to be another stepping stone and we'd sort of move on from that, but it seems we just reverted back to, you know, the Barnsley games and the Hull games like that. And I think it's that's really getting to fans at the moment. It's the performances. And yes, you know, at home we are getting the wins. I mean, that was our 6th win in a row at Ellen Road. But we're not always going to be getting that lucky, either against the teams we're coming up against or certain decisions in the game. We've shown this year that when we play poorly, then we don't get the results. We showed that at Barnsley, Nottingham Forest, Hull, could go on for various other games. And it's that's really worrying. And I am into, I think mainly I would be happier if Warnock did go. I think one of the problems, as I was speaking to someone yesterday, is that maybe the reason we're not getting players in is because they know they're coming into a club with a manager who isn't committing to a further contract. You know, not many players want to come into a team brought in by a manager who they want to play for, who isn't going to be there next season. So, you know, if that is the case, why players aren't coming in at the moment, then that's another reason to get rid of Neil at the moment. His selections recently, I mean, why he persists with Michael Brown, I have no idea. You feel like Michael Brown could do terrible things to Warnock and he'd still persist in playing him. And his decision to play both Brown and Austin on Saturday, which I think it's been proved before, they don't work in the team together. They're practically the same type of player. You know, they like to get stuck in. You know, Austin goes on a run every now and again, but they both can't pass the ball. You know, past the tackling, there's not really much to their game. So, you know, the decision to play both of them when we've got David Norris, we've got Michael Tom, we've got Paul Green on the bench, you know, to play alongside Ross Barkley in that central midfield would have been a much better option, but for some reason he decided to go for the ultra defensive, ultra shit option, quite frankly. So, I mean, some of his selections really are quite bewildering. On the plus side, which there weren't many on Saturday, I think, hopefully, Lee Peltier has proved himself to be a good player at centre-back. You know, I was saying it all along, he was awful at left-back, and people were saying he was an awful player in general, but all along I was saying if he plays at centre-back, he will prove that he's a good player, and I think he looks so much more comfortable there. I think whilst he was at left-back, he always looked like he was expecting to make a mistake, but on Saturday, I think him and Tom Lees looked quite assured in the centre of defence, so I'll take that as quite a positive out of the game. And I think it's just the way that he's been speaking, as I said in my last video, it's the way he's coming out after matches now, and he just really seems to be very unprofessional about certain things, and he just seems to have lost it a little bit. I mean, he started having a go at the fans now, saying that we all have our glasses half empty, when at the end of the day we're being realistic, Neil, and we're looking at the bigger picture, unlike you it seems. You know, you said that some of us would prefer us to play like Real Madrid and lose. Well, that's not always the case, and especially now it isn't the case. But the thing is, we're not playing well against poor teams. If we're not playing well against poor teams, we're not going to be doing well against the bigger teams, are we? So we're not going to be going anywhere. And it just seems like he's sort of settled to play this season out. He's going to retire at the end of it, get his money, and he'll be happy. And I just don't like the way he's coming out and saying things, and the way he's constantly, over the past few games, he'll always manage to blame Becchio for something, and it's almost like he's driving him out of the club. You know, I'm sure there are some clubs that have come in for him, probably offered some big money. And let's be honest, whilst the manager is there slating you after every game, and you've got another, maybe a Premiership club offering you treble wages or something, of course your head's going to be turned. Would you blame him, really? I mean, I certainly wouldn't at the moment. For the people saying to cash in on him, I don't personally agree with that, because I mean, you look at the players that are out there at the moment in the January transfer window, there's not many. It'd be a case of having to offer lots of money to a certain club and them wanting to let go. Of course, those clubs will see that we've got new owners, that we might have more money, they're going to put the prices up, and it's pointless paying over the odds for a striker that isn't worth it, really. I mean, if we're going to start just paying stupid money for players that aren't worth it, then we're going to be back to the, you know, back to the Ridsdale era of, you know, just wasting our money away, and we'd just be back to square one again, wouldn't we? So, you know, these fans that are coming out saying, oh, just pay the money for these players, well, we don't want to start going down that road again, guys, do we really? So, like I say, I know I'm kind of sitting on the fence there. I think if push comes to shove, I would want Neil to go now, this week, so at least we've got 12 days for a manager to come in and get some of his own players in that he would like. But then again, if he wasn't to go, then like I say, I think it would be important to sort of just consolidate this season, kind of stabilise the club a little bit, and then get the new manager in the summer, and he can start building his team then. So, although, you know, lots of people and fans saying all this negativity, it's not helping, it's just being realistic, guys. You know, it is nice to be optimistic all the time, but we can't bury our heads in the sand about some of these things. We're not playing well at the moment. Yes, we've been lucky in getting some results, but we're also getting battered by poor teams, and we can't hide from that fact, and it isn't good enough. So it might be being negative, but it's also being realistic. So, and that's coming from someone who's tries to be optimistic all the time. I mean, up until sort of halfway through this season, I was thinking I was quite optimistic, but the way things have been going recently, there's nothing really to be optimistic about at the moment. So anyway, that's my take on things at the moment, guys. As always, you know, let me know what you think in the comments below. Always seem to be recently having a really good response from a lot of people watching. So thank you very much, guys. Getting tons of views, which I'm really happy with. And also get in touch with me on Twitter at ChrisJonesLUFC. I'm on there more than I am on YouTube, really. So that's probably the best place to contact me. So as always, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you soon.